Good morning. Stencil on ICAD a day. No, ICAD 2019. So I got out my stencil drawer and I picked out some of my favorite stencils: a map, some circles, some snaily looking things, a bookmark that had flowers on it, and this paisley. And I get out my paper and I'm actually talking because I started to do a non voiceover video. So you see me talking, but I left my radio, not my radio, Pandora on my phone going, so I can't do that. Anyhow, so I get out my IKEA catalog that I'm using for my index cards and um, ripping them into the right shapes because I can't find the ones I did the other day. It's just, this, I think that is what's his face? I don't know. I'm brain dead at the moment. Trying to do too many things right now. Ranger. Who's the guy from Ranger? Don't, I know you're telling me, Curty. I know, I just can't hear you. Anyhow, so uh, Jim, who is that guy? Anyhow, okay, move forward, Beth. So I'm gonna get out one of my index cards, aka IKEA catalog, and I thought I could paint and do. There's a pedal that I should have used yesterday. A little, I think that was from a Flow magazine. That I could use the wipes um, and take away some of the color around a stencil. Well, I didn't do it right. I thought you could do it with watercolors, but you really can't. So I was trying to paint purple for my new Burke, James Burke watercolors. That's what they're going to be called from now on, not Target. James Burke watercolors. Um, by way of Curti. So I get out some acrylic paint. I don't know why I was going with the color purple, but that's what was talking to me today. So I decided to put the purple on there and then put darker purple over it and try to remove it around the stencil, and you'll see that that doesn't work. And I was getting very frustrated and um, really frustrated. So I don't know what I was doing wrong. People do this with wipes. Maybe it's the alcohol in the wipes. Then my stencil started sticking to my paper, and that was getting me frustrated because I don't want to mess up my stencil. And granted, it is a very thin line stencil. So then I started to do it with the paisley, and I hit the camera, and that wasn't working. I'm in a pickle again. So I decided to put more paint down and then use something not quite as detailed, those little snaily shapes. And I slightly got the impression from the stencil from those, but not very good. You can sort of see it for a second there, a brief second. Oh, frustration is setting in. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to paint over it with a darker color with my brayer because I see people do that with brayers. So I decided to do that, and I got too much paint on my brush, so I'm using this as my wipey thing and then running it over with the brayer. I could have done some of this on a jelly plate, and I really thought you can slightly see it again now, but it's still not working. So I try to do it again, get my stencil stuck in the paint, and it's still not working the way I want it to. So I go back to to those big circles and decide to just use my finger and work around the stencil. Um, and that's where it all goes kind of south. So I just was so frustrated by this point. And I had a big old fat mess. Now all my stencils are covered in purple. Frustration. Kind of like I am now. And I'm trying not to bend those snaily centers up and got really upset. So I decided to get out gold and I put a darker color, a totally different color and go with those stencils and my finger. So now I have cute little circles on my purple, and that makes me happy. And I'm getting myself out of my pickle, but I still don't like what I'm doing. So sometimes you know how people say you have to work through the ugly? I feel like I'm working through the ugly at this point. And then I realized that the whole time while I'm talking to you, my the Pandora was on my phone about this time. So I was like, ay, ay, ay. The dog is barking at the cat next door, and there's people delivering rocks next door. They started at 6 o'clock this morning. Frustration. So, see, there's the gold. But I don't like it. And I was like, how can I fix this? I don't know. I used my stencil, which is what my goal was for the day on the prompt, which is fun and okay. So then I decide I'm going to rip up some of my kitchen sink paper, and I was going to cut it into the shape of a heart because I like the gold and the purple together. That looks silly. So this is where it all started going south real fast. I ripped that weird looking heart in half and start gluing things down on top of my paper and trying to work through the ugly. And that was not working at all for me. So, yes, Kurti, I do like the angle a little bit better. Trying to remember to put, so then I'm taking this, that's a sheet of stickers from uh, Daphne's Diary, and I just wanted the extra side pieces, the margins, and they had polka dots on them. So I'm trying to use that. And then there's this other one that had some pretty background paint on it, so I'm trying to use that. And it had a bumblebee, and I ripped that in half so you can't really tell it's a bumblebee, but you can sort of. So yes, the camera angle is getting better. And then I thought, okay, well now I'll take this paisley and go back over it again with dark purple. And I'm still trying to use the brayer, but I don't know. It was better. So you can sort of see a paisley, and I've got purple paint everywhere. I mean everywhere. and and I'm like, okay, there needs to be another color in here somehow, some way. So I get out my gold because I like the gold, and now I still wanted another color, and I thought, okay, I love my yellow on things. I thought that's going to look too Mardi Gras-ish. Not that there's anything wrong with New Orleans, but, you know, I think it was about right here where I stopped and went and washed my hands. So I do get out some green. And just a tad, or that's yellow actually, there's green in the lid. But add the yellow. So then I put the green on there, and I'm like, that's really Mardi Gras to me. But it works out. It's not bad. And I cover up a little bit of the pumpkin because there's a pumpkin on that orange thing. And I'm okay with it. Check it out on Instagram and get a close up. Thanks for watching. Bye.